Good morning. My name is Grace, and I'd like to welcome you to our Veterans Day program. This program is an annual tradition that BMS students have been putting on for 13 years. The reason we have this event is to thank and recognize our veterans. In this program, there will be performances by the band and choir, some interviews from veterans, and 2 special guest speakers. The students of the Language Arts Advanced class, which is comprised of 28 students, have worked hard to put this program together. Now, to start off our program, I would like for you all to please stand and join me in saying our Pledge of Allegiance, which will be followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
And now, the man you've all been waiting for. He's coached 5 sports and has been with us for 8 years at BMS. Please give a round of applause for the man who's going to give a welcoming speech. Our principal, Mr. Dave Strauss.
Thank you. Good morning, and welcome to our 2020 Veterans Day program. Today, we're here to celebrate and honor our veterans of the Armed Forces. 2020 has had many challenges that we have faced and continue to overcome. COVID-19 gave us a challenge regarding how to pay tribute to our veterans during a pandemic. Mrs. Barnett and her students worked tirelessly and succeeded in finding a way to celebrate our veterans virtually. Veterans, thank you for your service and sacrifice. Your commitment to this great nation has allowed all of us to enjoy many freedoms that may be denied in other countries around the world. On behalf of Batesville Middle School, I want to express our gratitude for your service. Thank you for keeping this nation the land of the free and the home of the brave. And now, I hope you enjoy our program today. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jaden, and it is my pleasure to introduce the choir in this year's Veterans Day program. The 6th, 7th, and 8th grade choirs will be singing together for their 4th year under the supervision of Rachel Pullen. The choirs will be singing the national anthem in this year's program. Normally, the choirs would sing an additional song that would be sung after the national anthem. Last year, they sang Honor by Cynthia Bainey. Unfortunately, with current circumstances, they have been required to sing one song. The choirs have had to sing with masks on and social distance to meet state safety guidelines all year. The lyrics for the Star Spangled Banner, also known as the National Anthem, were originally written by Francis Scott Key and John Stanford Smith with the lyrics to music. But without further ado, the Batesville Middle School Choir.
What so proudly we
for our first guest speaker. He started serving in 2019 at the age of 21 and is still serving to this day at the age of 23. He serves for the Air Force as second lieutenant. After graduating from medical school, he plans on spending more time in the military, where he won't be as busy at school. The main reason he started serving is because, even though he didn't come from a huge military family, the idea of having a 9-to-5 job did not appeal to him. I've said a lot, even so, there's a lot more to be heard from our speaker himself. So, please direct your attention to the screen as we present a virtual interview of our first guest speaker, Keegan Main.
Hello everyone, I believe you were just introduced to me. My name is Keegan Main. I graduated from Batesville High School in 2015, and then I graduated from Marion University with a degree in biology in 2019. And then the summer of 2019, I commissioned into the Air Force in a special program called the Health Professions Scholarship Program. And so then in that fall of 2019, I started medical school. And when I graduate medical school in 2023, which seems so far away right now, I will go active duty within the Air Force. So right now, I am a second lieutenant in the Air Force Reserve. When I was kind of talking to my family about this, they kind of laughed a little because I don't have a lot of, I guess you would say, real military experience so far. My experiences have been my commissioning ceremony, and then I attended officer training school for the Air Force this past summer. And so those have been my main, I guess you would say, military experiences, as well as the smattering of other responsibilities I have while I'm on campus, some of the different military organizations that I'm a part of and my roles within those. But my experience with the military kind of started in high school. I kind of thought about, once I graduated, doing an ROTC program in my undergrad. I ended up kind of not doing that because I knew I wanted to go to medical school and kind of continue my education past undergrad. So I was very, very happy when I found the program that I'm currently in. It's afforded me a lot of really interesting opportunities and different paths that I can go down as I continue my medical education. And I'm very grateful for all of those opportunities. It has been more than I could have hoped or dreamed, so I'm so excited to still be a part of that. Veterans Day is an interesting, I guess, experience for me in the terms that I don't really have real military experience, as I already said. And so I can't speak to a lot of the difficult situations that people have been put in, the sacrifices that people have had to gone through. I haven't really faced any of those in my own journey. During my time at officer training school this past summer, as well as some of my other responsibilities after that, there have been a couple times where I've been confronted kind of with the weight of the decision that I've made to join the military. And by no means do I regret it. I enjoy it every day. But there's a certain heaviness that comes with the decision that I didn't necessarily understand when I first commissioned. There have been several situations that I've heard about or been asked to provide a small hand in that have lent weight to the decision and made me kind of examine what's come before me and a lot of the really heavy sacrifices that the men and women in the armed forces have had to confront, have been asked to decide on, and have been a part of. So that was a very kind of sobering reality for me to face. There was a specific incident where I was asked in my capacity as the head of the military student organization here at Marion University to collect letters to a soldier who had just lost several members of their unit. And as I was doing that, as I was writing this letter, trying to write this letter, and realizing that I don't have a lot of life experience, I certainly don't have a lot of military experience, but in my role as an officer in the Air Force Reserves, I was being asked to write this letter to a soldier who had just lost people, probably close to my age. Those people had paid the ultimate sacrifice, and this other individual was being faced with that, losing close friends. And that was a reality that I had never thought about. But as someone who's going to be in military medicine, that's a reality that I'm going to have to face a lot. And whether I like it or not, we'll have to have some degree of comfort with navigating those difficult situations. And I really didn't know what to say to to this soldier. I didn't really have any words of advice to offer them, other than I was honored to be a part of the legacy that they have continued, that has come before us and will continue after us. And however small my role may be, I still get to be a part of this group of people who have signed on the dotted line, raised their right hand, and sworn an oath to defend the country and all of the values that we hold dear. And Veterans Day is strange for me in a sense because I don't have a lot of personal experience with it, but I am so honored to be a part of that tradition and to be able to play some role in continuing that legacy, continue bearing that flag as we go forward. So thank you so much for all of your support, for everyone within the military and who has given so much of their lives.
Hello, my name is Adeline, and several of us students have put together a slideshow of interviews with veterans. The people who participated in the making of this video, other than myself, are Lincoln, Ava, Cash, and Vince. The veterans will share a story about their service with us, along with answering a few questions. The veterans in our slideshow today include Bill Downey, Bob Waltzman, Marvin Myers, Tony Bagley, and Kim Simonson. Please enjoy.
William Downey. I served in the U.S. Marine Corps from January 52 until January 54. I spent, well, the first went in, I went to San Diego for my basic training there, and then from there I went to Camp Pendleton in California for infantry training, machinist training, and all kinds of training on that. Then I went from there to Korea. I spent a year in Korea in the 1st Marine Division Engineer Battalion, working on roads and bridges and minefields. We just would get out and get some roads fixed, and here would come a bunch of tanks by and tear the roads all up again, and we'd have to start over and fix them up again. I was over there, and I came back from over there, and they landed at San Francisco, and I came from there to Crane Naval Depot down by Bedford, Indiana. And I was there from July until January the 23rd when I got out of the service. When I got on the ship to go over, we left out of San Diego, but he told us down there, there was 10 of us that went to work, done jobs, and he told us, he said, now when you get out of here, said, when you go to chow, he said, there'll be dill pickles there. He said, you eat dill pickles and you won't get seasick. Well, old Raymond Eads from Clover, South Carolina, he said he'd rather be seasick and eat them dill pickles. And he's the only one of the 10 that got seasick going over. So when we came home, the first thing he done was get some dill pickles to eat. He didn't want to get seasick again. But it was quite an experience on the whole thing, and it was one of the coldest places I was ever at.
Hi, my name is Bob Waltzman. I served 3.5 years of active duty, and they were all served in the Army and in parachute infantry. There's so many memories from this war. The United States was invaded by the Empire of Japan, and the United States fought the World War II on 2 fronts, the European theater and the Pacific theater. And those of you who are still with us today studied World War II, we are known as the greatest generation that ever lived. And that tag was given to us because of the terrific odds that the United States Army, Navy, and Marines overcame to bring peace to the world. And we're enjoying a beautiful life here in the United States today because of all those who served in World War II and so many who gave their life for our freedom. So this is a beautiful day to remember that.
Hello, my name is Marvin Myers, and I was in the U.S. Army. I served for 2 years from 1968 and 70. And I don't know what a cool fact it is, but while I was serving in Vietnam, we was out on patrol, and my lieutenant tripped a booby trap, and it blew him up from the back and got me from the front. And that was how I received my Purple Heart on January 3rd, 1969. And thank you for this opportunity to be interviewed.
Hi, my name is Kim Simonson, and I was asked by my granddaughter, Addie Flutterman, to answer some questions in regards to Veterans Day. And just wanted to let everyone know that it's a privilege to do that. And I honestly believe that Veterans Day should be every day. She's forwarded me a series of questions, and the first one I've already answered, and that's my name, Kim Simonson. I live in Brookville, Indiana. I was in the military for 2 years. In fact, I was drafted into the military. It was 1968, near the end of the end of the Vietnam War, and I was drafted into the Army right out of high school. I did my basic training in New Jersey and in Oklahoma. I was then sent at the end of my advanced individual training in Oklahoma. I was sent to California to be positioned over in Vietnam. However, before I was transferred, I was selected to do some additional training in nuclear weapons. So as a result of that training and a specialization in nuclear weapons, my transfer, instead of being to Vietnam, was actually to Germany. That would be during the Cold War with the Soviet Union. We had various nuclear facilities in Europe, and my job was to all the nuclear weapons at that time in Europe that were utilized through some type of launching device had a locking device on them. That locking device had a series of combinations, and I was given half the combinations. Another individual was given the other half. That way neither one of us could arm them individually. And so our job was to arm the weapons in case of war in Europe. And for 2 years, I had that responsibility. I traveled around Europe, various sites, various bases, and near the Berlin Wall. It was, you think about, you don't really think about the seriousness of it, but if there was some type of action, obviously we would have been called to duty first in regards to the European theater. So, spent 2 years in the military. My MOS was 13 Bravo 40, nuclear weapons. Again, my responsibility was to arm the nuclear weapons. and repeating myself from the beginning. I appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit of my story. I honestly believe that, again, Veterans Day should be every day. And I'd like to thank Addie for the opportunity to share a little bit of this. Very proud to be a veteran. Have a good day. Thank you.
What is your name?
My name? Everybody calls me Grandpa, but it's Tony Vagley.
How long did you serve in your war?
Well, I was in at a very end of World War II for 10 months.
What branch of the military were you in?
Infantry.
What is an interesting fact or story about you in your war?
You mean in the Army? Well, a lot of stuff. I was only in the Army about 10 or 12 weeks, and I was shipped off to Korea to be in the occupation army. And I thought that was pretty interesting because I was only in the Army about, 3 months, and I was in some foreign country I'd never heard of, Korea.
Next up, we have a former Master Sergeant in the Air Force and a previous student in the Batesville community, Mr. Seth Shields. Mr. Shields grew up in Batesville. He was an Eagle Scout and he spent his time camping, shooting, and playing basketball. As a kid, Mr. Shields looked up to his brother and his grandfather and followed their footsteps after receiving a bachelor's degree in business management from the American Public University System. While he was active, which was from 1999 to 2019, he was deployed 17 times in total and was in combat 3 times. Currently, Mr. Shields, at the age of 39, enjoys golfing, hunting, and spending time with his family. He is married with 3 children and works at his own company, Tradecraft, a company that offers consulting services for military special operations forces and investigative services. Now please direct your attention to Mr. Shields.
Good morning, everybody. So first of all, thank you guys for having me. My son is actually a student here at Connor Shields, so if I do something embarrassing, just make sure you guys tease him later on for me. So I also want to thank my fellow brothers and sisters in arms that are going to be watching this on Wednesday. Thank you for your service. So for 2 weeks, I've been trying to think what I want to talk to you guys about. So you heard some of my fellow veterans talk a little about war stories and kind of what they did. But one thing I think kind of gets breezed over, you guys see a lot of movies, and I could sit here and talk to you guys about jumping out of airplanes and shooting guns and going to war. And I handled spies for the government, so I could teach you guys about all that kind of fun stuff, which is probably what you want to hear. But I'm also going to talk to you guys about what is it truly like to be a veteran actually working in the military and what our lives are like, because really no one discusses that stuff. So yeah, you heard I was born and raised. I actually lived about a block away from here, walked these same hallways. Your band teacher actually taught me drums over in Greensburg, so it's kind of funny that big circle coming back here and seeing all this happen again. But I joined the military in 1999, and as you heard, my grandfather was in the military. My uncle was a Green Beret. I don't know if you guys ever heard what Green Berets are. And my brother was also in the Air Force. I was kind of sick of school, not gonna lie, and didn't really want to head off to college right away. And I really wanted to jump out of airplanes, so I said I want to join the military. Problem is, I joined the Air Force, and the Air Force guys don't jump out of airplanes, and I didn't really know that at the time. And at the time, I also had what they call color vision. A lot of guys have color vision. You girls don't really have color vision issues, but guys do. So when I joined, they said, sorry buddy, you're going to the Air Force and you're not going to be able to jump out of airplanes because you're colorblind. So you got pretty good scores on your tests. We're going to make you military intelligence. I really didn't know what military intelligence was. So they sent me off to a school in Texas and sent me off to a couple other schools. And they taught me all kinds of top secret stuff. And I really did get taught top secret stuff. So I held a top secret clearance. And throughout my career, we moved to 7 different bases, all doing military intelligence stuff. You heard the term MOS, the Army guy just mentioned. That's basically a job in the military. I held 2 jobs plus a couple other things. I was an intelligence guy, and I was also an espionage. So I was detailed with the CIA later on in my life. We won't talk about all that kind of stuff, but did a lot of cool stuff, recruiting spies for America to answer America's hardest challenges. But let's back up a little bit. So, what's it like? Join basic training, like you heard all these guys say. When you guys watch movies and they're yelling at you and making you do push-ups and shaving your head and all that, yes, that happens for just a few weeks. And then they send you off to kind of like a college. For Air Force guys, it's called tech school. For Army guys, it's called AIT, which you just mentioned. And it's really like college life, minus you wear a uniform and you march everywhere. And you do a lot of working out and stuff. But you go to class every day, and you study and you learn. And some of these schools, depending on what job you have in the military, can last a few weeks, or like me, it was almost a year of training. Your training never stops in the Air Force or in the military in general. They send you off to all kinds of other schools. You guys probably want to hear about some of the cool schools I went to, so here are a few. One of the schools early on in my career I went to was called SEER School. It stands for Survival, Evasion, Resistance, and Escape. So if I were ever captured by the enemy and they were beating me and trying to get secrets out of me, I had to know how to respond to that. So this school actually beats you, and they put you in the ground in 55-gallon barrels of cold water to try to torture you. They put you in stress positions. They make you eat bugs. They take you out camping and show you how to evade through the woods and the jungles and stuff like that. So it doesn't sound like fun, but it's 3 weeks out in Washington State. Is actually a pretty good time. I also, as a weird guy in the Air Force, I went through a lot of Army schools. I learned how to land helicopters, control guys jumping out of airplanes, setting up helicopter landing zones. I went to surveillance school to find out if I had people following me. I learned lock-picking techniques. I learned how to hijack cars. I mean, all kinds of crazy stuff you see on movies, I got to learn. And finally, I don't want to ruin the surprise, but as an Air Force guy, I did get to go to jump school. And I did jump out of airplanes. I'll get back to that in a minute. So, those were all my training events that I went to. And I think I went through like 45 schools in the military. So you're always learning. You never stop learning. But when I landed at my first military base, you guys are thinking, well, military, all they do is carry guns around in their uniforms and drive tanks. And if you've ever been to a military base, you're going to find out that that's not true at all. It's like a little city in itself. We actually have Starbucks. We have fast food restaurants. We have banks, movie theaters, hospitals, golf courses, fire stations, police stations. Everything that you guys see right now in Batesville, Oldenburg, Greensburg, we actually have on military bases. We all have that in the United States, and we have that in all the countries as well. So when you step foot on a military base, you're like, wow, this is like America. They've got gas stations and everything. It's completely contained, so if something goes down, you guys have all the luxuries of what you have here in America. There's also not just 1 or 2 jobs in the military. You can be almost anything you want to be on the outside in civilian life, or you can be in the military. You heard from a doctor today. You heard from engineers. There are people that run, I wrote down a few of them here, firefighters, veterinarians, doctors, anything you can think, even photographers. There are mortuary affairs that do like funeral stuff. There's everything that you guys can imagine. If you want to do, the military's pretty much got it, and they train you. All right, so I'm at my military base, right? What does a daily job look like for most people? Most military people actually have a desk they sit at. My desk had 3 computers in front of it, top secret, secret, and what we call unclassified. So all day long I had to look at different emails, different classifications. I had 3 phones in my desk. Unclassified phone, secret phone, and a top secret phone. And that's how we did business. Now at night I would do other things with the military that we won't really get into, but it's all that stuff you see on movies. sneaking through back alleys, meeting with people, paying people a lot of money to do things for us, a lot of spy type of stuff. Depending on what organization you're with, everybody wakes up and a lot of times they go work out at the gym. I was in one organization, we worked out 5 days a week, and we ran like 7 miles 3 times a day, or 3 times a week, did push-ups and sit-ups, and we were in really good shape. Not everybody has to do that, but some people, depending on what your job was, I was special operations, so we had to work out a lot. You do wear a uniform, which is really cool because unlike you guys trying to pick what clothes you wear, and I'm sure a lot of you guys at this age wear the same clothes every day like my son, but our uniforms, we didn't have to worry about that. Just throw on the same uniform. We had different uniforms, but the hardest thing for me to transition to a civilian was trying to figure out what to wear every day because I didn't have to worry about that for 20 years. And I usually sat in the office from 7:30 in the morning to about 4:30 in the afternoon. That's pretty boring, right? However, military folks deploy. So you heard Emma say that was 17 times I deployed. That was 33 countries I traveled to. Additionally, I learned German. I speak German fairly fluently, and they sent me to Swahili school to learn Swahili language since I spent a lot of time in Africa. So that was one of the cool things about being in the military, but not everybody has that same experience. There are people in the military that have been 20 years that have never deployed in their lives, so it depends on what you do and where you're working at. I have seen and done some crazy stuff. Been to Iraq 3 times, one of which was a parachute operation. I was the first person into Iraq. I've been to Chernobyl, which is that nuclear meltdown. If you guys have ever seen, there's a scary movie out now. I've lived in the Congo in Africa. I've taken what's called a pirogue, which is like a little kayak down Niger rivers. I've done the craziest things you guys can imagine. But a lot of military guys, another thing, we don't like to talk about war stories. So some of these gentlemen up here, there was one of these guys that was a parachute guy in World War II. He didn't even mention what he did in the war because sometimes it's painful and people don't want to talk about it. So yes, I got to see a lot of cool things. The other thing too is when I talk about deployments sometimes can be 4 months, they can be 2 months. A lot of the Army folks spend a year away from their family at a time. That's probably the most super challenging thing about being in the military is being away from your loved ones. So Connor's not in here right now, guys, but for the majority of Connor's life, I wasn't around. I was gone. And some of the things I did because I was doing top secret stuff, I couldn't even communicate with my family. I was also not Seth Shields a lot of times when I was deployed. I actually had an alias, so I was living another persona, which means I was basically living somebody else's name. So it's really challenging on families and marriages to be in the military. So life overall was really good. The military offers you guys all kinds of cool benefits. I got free college out of it. I told you I had bad vision. The military actually fixed my vision for me. I got to travel to 33 countries. I got some really cool experiences. I mean, how many people here would like to jump out of an airplane all the time, right? I mean, pretty cool stuff. A lot of the guys in here, even the gals, how would you like to shoot tons of different kinds of guns and rockets and grenades and all that kind of stuff? Yes, it's good to do some of that stuff too. But at the end of the day, there's an old saying that's taken from Orwell, but it's a little changed. People ask me, do you regret anything? You heard the first lieutenant up here, he said, no, I don't regret anything. I also don't regret anything. It hurts me and pains me when I see America in the state it is right now, and we're split right down the middle. But the old saying by Orwell goes, Americans can sleep peacefully in their beds at night because rough men stand ready to do violence on their behalf. So we sign up in the military, we sacrifice a lot, so all of you in here can have great lives and have democracy in America. So yeah, it's disappointing to see where America's at right now, but that's why we do what we do, because it's America. So I want to thank you guys, I want to thank my fellow veterans. I appreciate you guys coming out here, and please give Connor Shields a lot of grief later on for having his dad up here. So please make fun of him for me. Thank you guys.
7th and 8th grade bands will be performing the song Marches of the Armed Forces, a medley of the official songs for all 5 five branches of the armed forces. This band piece was arranged by Michael Sweeney, and the Batesville band plays this song every year. Our 7th and 8th grade band has been practicing the song since the very beginning of this year, amidst the uncertainty of COVID-19. Mr. Porter has told us that he is incredibly grateful to be conducting this piece of music to honor the men and women of the armed forces who sacrificed so much for us. Now, with pride, our band will present Marches of the Armed Forces.
We would like everyone to take a moment and appreciate the veterans who have served. Thank all the men and women who have sacrificed themselves to protect this country and others. Veterans who are deceased or still living to this day can never thank you enough. In the situation that we are in, veterans were not able to attend the program at our school, but we are thankful for everyone who can watch the virtually. If you know any veterans who are not watching, be sure to thank them for what they have done for our country. For all veterans out there, thank you for your service.
My name is Lawrence, and I'm here to conclude our 2020 Veterans Day program. We would like to thank all the veterans who shared their stories about their experiences in the military. An additional thank you to Mr. Seth Shields and Mr. Keegan Lane for being our guest speakers this year. Also, a big thank you to the band and choir for playing and singing for us today. Again, thank you to all the veterans who are watching this program. We appreciate your service. Thank you to all for watching our program, and have a good rest of the morning. And veterans, do you want a free meal? If so, then stop by Little Charlie's located on 50 East Pearl Street, Batesville, Indiana. Any veteran that comes to Little Charlie's between 11 a.m. and 9 p.m. on November 11th will get a free meal because Little Charlie's wants to show its appreciation for what you did for our country. This free meal includes an entree from the Little Charlie's Veterans menu with 2 complimentary drinks, includes adult beverages. This is all possible thanks to Greensburg Motorsports, Larry Reedy, and Little Charlie's Restaurant Group. You don't want to miss out, so make sure you stop by Little Charlie's on Veterans Day.